I enjoyed creating the video that you're about to see and genuinely hope it makes your life better. But please remember, I cannot pay my mortgage with passion. I cannot pay my bills with passion. I do need cold, hard cash. And as we all know, YouTube has become a very hostile place for earning money for content creators. So please think about joining EliTheComputerGuy.com or FailedNormal.com to get other content that's not necessarily on YouTube and to help support these projects that I do. Hello again. So let us continue this A plus track with an overview of the tools that an A plus technician should have in their bag. And in fact, really, the bag itself. So if you're going to go and you're going to start doing repairs in the A plus world, again, the desktop support world, you're going to need tools. One of the biggest problems that I see, though, with all the noobs is they go, yay, I get to use my credit card and I get to buy stuff. And they go out there and they buy all kinds of tools that are not for A plus technicians. This is a very good tool. This is called a butt set. It's for when you're dealing with telephony. It has nothing to do with when you're dealing with A plus stuff. So we're going to be talking about what tools you need in your bag today for the A plus technician. As an A plus technician, what tools you should have in your bag so that you go out there, you buy the right things, and then you also don't go out and overbuy things. This is one of those pieces of advice I will try to bang into your head. One of the biggest problems I see with new technology professionals and especially new entrepreneurs is that they invest in themselves. Essentially, they get so excited, right? Think about it for a second. If you're going to be a new technician, if you're going to start a business, what's more fun and exciting? Buying tools, buying devices, looking over spec sheets, or sitting there and studying for tests? Here's the thing, right? Here's the thing. Studying is what's going to make you a good technician. Buying crap is simply fun. And so I will warn you about this because I've seen it time and time again. Is so many times people will buy the book or they'll watch the videos, they'll get a little bit through it, and then they'll go on a shopping spree for some reason because it gets really exciting. Oh, when I'm an A-plus technician, when I'm an MCSE, when I'm a CCNA. And they go out and they spend thousands of dollars on stuff that they never end up using because they never get to the level where any of the equipment actually makes sense. So one of the things that I will tell you is, especially when you're starting out, go truly go inexpensive. Buy the best quality equipment that you can, but buy as little of it as you can. Essentially, go out there and buy a very good set of screwdrivers, right? Inexpensive screwdrivers will cost you $4. Good screwdrivers will cost you $12. I'm telling you to go out there and splurge on $12 worth of screwdrivers, not $1,200 worth of fancy laptop, if you get my drift there. So we're going to be talking about the tools today, what you should reasonably expect to need and need to buy in order to be an A-plus technician, and again, talk about some of the reasons why you should buy certain equipment and not buy others. So the first thing that you're going to need to be an A-plus technician is a tool bag. I don't care what tool bag it is, but basically it should be a tool bag that you are going to be comfortable taking with you everywhere. So this was my initial tool bag. I spent the kingly sum of money of absolutely nothing for this. And when my stepfather was still alive, yeah, it was one of those things. I was like, ooh, that's kind of nice. Stepfather just kind of wandered out of the house with. So if you look at it, basically he was in the Navy, and this is just an old, I think it's a little Navy tool bag thing. You can pick one of these things up at an Army Navy surplus store for about $12, and it's really, you need nothing more complicated than this. Basically what you need for your tool bag is you need something relatively small, something relatively easy to be able to take with you that can fit however much crap you need. Now, again, with with me, Eli, the computer guy, after 20 some odd years. This is not the same kit that I would use anymore. I would probably have a full-fledged backpack nowadays with all my tools and stuff in it, just because, again, I do networking stuff, I do telephony stuff, I do other things other than the A+ stuff. But to be clear, this is what I started with. And again, when I say do not overinvest in yourself in the beginning, honestly, when I started out way back when I was putting up pull tab signs, and I did not want to create a business. I simply wanted to pay for beer money. Literally, I had this bag. I had one multi-headed screwdriver inside, and I had a book of CDs. So the back in the day, because this was back during Windows XP era. So I had rips of versions of different operating systems on there and a thumb drive. And that was the sum total of what was in this bag. So again, when I say don't overinvest in yourself, I really do mean it. Get exactly what you need. Because literally, I was able to start my business that way, right? I was way back when I first started, I was charging $50 an hour. And literally, my entire business was this bag with a screwdriver, a couple of CDs, and a thumb drive in there. So really, that's what you need to start. But the big thing with your little tool bag, and again, why it needs to be big enough for you, is at the end of every day, all tools need to be going back into your bag. One of the problems with new technicians, I completely understand, is you pull tools out of your bag and you put them all over the place. The problem is then you go to a client site, or even you go to a user's desk, and then you realize, oh, I need X, Y, or Z, and you don't have it with you. If you put all of your tools into your bag, and every time you go to a service call, you just grab your bag and take it with you, then you'll be fine. One of the techniques that I use, honestly, like when I had the bag and when I had more tools than those couple tools, I would just literally have my bag open. I would have it on my desk, and then I would be able to reach into it and grab whatever I needed. And that worked for me. So the first thing that you need is a good, durable tool bag that you're willing to take with you everywhere. Now, the first tool that you'll need is a screwdriver. So back in the day, when I originally had my screwdriver, I went out, I bought one of those multi-headed things, and I used that for a few years. But actually, I have found as time has gone by, I much prefer a nice little set like this from Cobalt, where instead of having multiple heads for one single screwdriver, you just have a number of different screwdrivers in the kit. So if we go over, we take a look at my little desktop shot here, you can see that this is the kit that I now use, and this is my daily driver of screwdrivers, I suppose you could say. Again, not multi-headed, but individual screwdrivers. So you'll see this is like a Phillips screwdriver, and it's a large head. So if you're trying to take out screws in a normal size computer, that's your Phillips screwdriver here. Plus, it's got a Torx. It's got the Torx head. This is a large Torx head. Then you've got flat head in here, and then you have multiple sizes, right? So this is the large flat head if you need it. This is the medium flat head if you need it, and this is the small flat head if you need it. And what's nice about this is you get the full sizes that you need in order to be able to do your work. Again, like if you're dealing with Torx, once you get to the point where you're going to be opening up laptop computers, you're going to be needing smaller things. So if you're dealing with Torx, you got the nice large one here. So this is what you would use maybe to open up a laptop case. And then you got a smaller one here. This might be to get smaller parts out of a laptop. And then you got the tiny one somewhere. Is this it? No, that's not it. Where's a small Torx? There we go. Then you got the tiny Torx here, and this tiny Torx is for getting into those really small little screws. And for me, again, it's one of those, all of this kind of stuff is personal preference, but over the years, I have just found having a nice little kit like this for my screwdrivers is a lot better than having that single screwdriver with the multi-head, and you got to flip the heads around, blah, blah, blah. Again, as things go, this is the one that I personally prefer. This is from Cobalt. I think you can get this particular set at Lowe's. Again, $12, $15. One of the things I'll say with even things like screwdrivers is, again, remember, quality matters. This is the type of tool that you're going to be using day in, day out, especially as an A+ technician. And so simply having, like, these are like rubberized handles here, so they feel comfortable to use. I know for a lot of people that sounds like a joke, but again, day in, day out, you're going to be using this thing so much. Simply having tools that are comfortable to use, and it has like a little spinny thing on the back, so I can hold onto this, so I can put this down, and when I'm screwing, right, I can do this, I can do that. That's why you pay the extra money, is it's just those additional little things that make your life easier. Again, if you use a screwdriver once a week, go for the cheap thing. It doesn't matter. If you're going to have tools that you're going to be using day in and day out, having nice handles, having a little spinny thing on the back, having good quality, screwdrivers really makes your life a lot better. Now, past the screwdrivers, one of the things that you're going to want is a nice little USB optical drive, especially as an A+ technician. If you're dealing with equipment that's a little bit older than anything that's been put out in the last year or two, optical drives are very, very useful things. You don't know how many laptops you need to reinstall an operating system, and hey, guess what? It doesn't have an optical drive actually installed in the laptop or whatever, so you're going to need one of these things in order to be able to reinstall the operating system. So having a little portable optical drive, this is going to cost you about $30, maybe. Probably cost you less than that nowadays. You can use this, again, for legacy software. So if the company that you're with uses old Office software or old AutoCAD software, there's just a lot of software out there that uses optical drives, and so having an optical drive is invaluable. Literally, the reason that I have this, I have never used this for personal use. This is the actual old archaic thing that I bought back in the day in order to be able to do repair work, and it's come in handy time and time again. So this is just one of those things. If you're going to be dealing with anything before the Windows 10 era, make sure you get yourself a nice little USB optical drive. The next thing that you should go for is canned air. Canned air. This will cost you about $3, or at least it cost me about $3 yesterday. And the thing is, when you go and you're going to get into computers, you're going to start messing with computers, what you find out is a lot of the computers are completely disgusting inside, and in order to clean out some areas, you need canned air. So I know some people are eco nowadays, and like, Eli, canned air isn't ecologically sound or whatever. The issue is that when you open up computers, where a lot of crap gets stuck is in the heatsink area. So the CPU heatsink, the GPU heatsink, in the fans and all that kind of thing. And the fact of the matter is you just can't clean out that crap unless you use canned air. And so you just need a little bit of canned air. You go in there, you spritz things out, and this fixes a lot of problems. Again, I have seen in the real world so many problems with computers are because of heat issues. Basically, either the heat sink on the CPU or the GPU is all gummed up. You go in there, you clean it out, and wow, that quick, the computer is working good. So $3, $4, whatever it is for a thing of canned air, you should always have some canned air with you. You don't have to overuse it. But for the right situations, it's absolutely necessary, especially too, like with things like laptops and all that kind of thing. Yeah, canned air is just a must-have anymore. The next thing that you should have in your toolkit is a hard drive dock. Again, invaluable for things like data recovery. So basically what you can do is you go into either a laptop computer or a desktop computer, you yank out that beautiful SATA hard drive. What you can do is you can slot that into a dock like this. This has a USB connector that will go back to your laptop computer, and you can go in and you can grab files and folders so easily, right? So there's sometimes, again, we used to get paid a lot of good money for doing data recovery, and when you do when you think about data recovery, a lot of times you think about hundreds of gigs of data, video files, huge number of pictures, X, Y, or Z. Well, in the real world, what you find out is a lot of data recovery is literally one or two folders that probably have less than a gig of data, right? A lot of grandmas, a lot of grandpas, a lot of users, they'll have one folder with Word documents or one folder with a few pictures in there. And so if you have to do a wipe or or a reload on a computer, especially if it's infected with viruses or got other problems, it can be a real pain in the ass to try to get that data off. Well, here's the thing. If you crack open the case of the computer, you pull out the hard drive, you shove it into this, you connect this up to your laptop, you pull off that one file or folder or the few things that they need, you can then just plug this back into their computer, do a wipe and reload, and away you go. So these just, I'm telling you, these hard drive docks are absolutely beautiful. It's great. Like back in the old days, they didn't have hard drive docks. So what I would do is I would actually rip apart hard drive enclosures and use those in order to do this. What's nice nowadays is they just sell hard drive docks. So this is from a company called Initech. I actually like Initech, FTC compliance. They sent me a lot of products over the years, but they're very good. They're very good quality. I think this is like $15 for something like this. Has a USB 3.0 connection. So again, you've just got your power connector, you got your USB 3, and you got a little power thing on there. Absolutely great. For the couple of bucks you're going to spend on this thing, this is one of those things that you absolutely should buy. Now, this is for SATA, so if you've got an old IDE hard drive, that's where I would go back, and basically I would go to something like Newegg, someplace like Newegg.com, look for a hard drive enclosure, just the enclosure with an IDE interface. I would then buy one of those. Again, basically rip off the shell, just take the nice little electronic components inside, and that essentially creates one of these hard drive docks for you with an IDE interface. The next thing that you need is a flash drive. I really shouldn't say a flash drive. You should probably have 10 flash drives. Well, it really depends on like what kind of work you're doing with desktop support. If you're dealing with small businesses and if you're in the corporate world, I would have about 10 flash drives. If I was dealing with like home users, I would probably still have 2 or 3. And basically what these are for is, as you can see, this is like classic. This is a classic. I should put this on eBay and try to sell it for $5,000. This is from when I had my company. Portable apps and utilities. So what we would use these flash drives for is, this is what we would put CC Cleaner or C Cleaner on back in the day. We would put Rakuva back on the day. We put all the Adobe updates. So any kind of like update, service packs, any kind of that normal software that you would put on a computer, you put on one of these little flash drives. And so that allows you to be able to install from local without having to go on the internet, which can be very useful because you don't know what the speed of the internet is going to be for your clients or where you're going. You don't know if the internet is going to drop off or whatever. If you just have a few of these all stocked with your standard utilities, you go to the computer, you plug it in, you do whatever it is you're going to do, and it makes life a hell of a lot easier. Now, especially the fact that you can basically get these things in Cracker Jack boxes. Again, for me, I remember in the old days when these things were like really expensive. But seriously, now like $10, $5 a piece, $10 a piece, you can get these with like quite a few gigs of storage on there. I would get a few of these, figure out what the standard utilities you're going to use are, and then just load each one up with that, and away you go. Absolutely invaluable. This is, like I said, this is an old label from back when I had my store, because this is something that we really did use day in and day out. The next thing that you should have in your kit, especially nowadays, is a nice little portable hard drive. So you can pick up like a 1 terabyte, one of these Western Digital My Passport drives, probably for $50 or $60 nowadays, maybe even less than that. And I would say this is definitely something that you should have in your kit. Now, again, if the operating system is completely crashed or it's just almost unusable, pulling the hard drive out of a computer and being able to recover data with a hard drive dock is a great way to go. But you know what? If you're dealing with a computer and the computer is more or less okay, more or less doesn't have any issues with it, but for some reason you need to pull the data off of it, having a nice large hard drive, portable hard drive makes your life easier. So let's say you're doing a migration, right? So somebody has an old computer and they're trying to move to a new computer. You just have this in your kit. You pull it out. You copy all the information from the old computer to the hard drive, then you copy it to the new computer. Makes your life easier for a few bucks. This is definitely something you should have. It's not really a whole hell of a lot you can say about it. Just a nice little portable hard drive. I would also say I would get the small hard drives nowadays, just because they are nice and small. Like, again, like this. if you get one of the large external hard drives, it's going to be about this big. And the issue is not only is it large, but then you've also got to worry about the power supply. So you've got to plug this thing into the wall, or if you've got to plug a larger one into the wall. With this, you just plug it directly into your laptop and it pulls the power off the USB. So that's why I would go with a small one like this. Now the next one on the list, and there will be no arguments, young noob. You will buy yourself a label maker. You will buy a label maker. Say after me. You will buy a label maker. Here's the deal, right? You are going to have to be documenting a lot of things. You are going to have to be labeling a lot of things, right? CDs, flash drives, whatever else, like servers. So if you go in, A+, I guess you're not really supposed to be dealing with servers, but you may have to put like IP addresses on the outside of a computer, like you put the IP address, or you put the host name, the computer name, you put like information for the router on the outside of the router. You burn CDs, you burn optical discs, and you need to label it, and that is what you want a labeler for. Now, I know what some of you are going to say. No, Eli, why should I spend money on a labeler and the stupid little cartridges that go in a labeler? Because you don't understand, Eli. My handwriting is good. My handwriting is good enough. I don't need to buy a labeler. No, it's not. No, it's not. Just because your English teacher gave you an A doesn't mean your handwriting is actually any good. Labelers just make life easier because so many people think their handwriting is good and then they just scribble stuff out and it's impossible to read and it just makes life miserable. It really does from a troubleshooting standpoint. So you get again, this is a little $15 device, costs a couple of bucks for the cartridges. You get one of these things every time you need to label something on a device or whatever, the IP address, the host name, you burn a CD, you use the labeler, it's nice, it looks professional, everybody can actually read what the hell it says. You're not sitting there going, is that an I or a 1 or an L? Right? Because you can read it. Buy a labeler. I'm telling you, just buy a labeler. The final standard thing that I would have in your little A+ kit would be a flashlight. Again, you go out there, you get a nice LED flashlight, throw some batteries in there, and the batteries last forever. Like, it's kind of funny. Like, this flashlight itself, this flashlight is probably 12 years old, and the batteries in here have probably been in here for like years, and it's still nice and bright. The reason why you should have a flashlight is normally doing like A+ level repairs, you don't need a flashlight. You should be able to pull out the computer and take a look in the computer and do whatever it is you're going to be doing. The problem is a lot of times when you're going in and doing troubleshooting, the computer will be under a desk or it will be in a dark area, and you don't necessarily want to move it. Remember, anytime you move a piece of electronics, something may happen to that electronics, right? Sometimes you want to touch something as little as possible. So you go onto the desk, you get your little flashlight, you turn on your flashlight, and you see what's going on. Is everything plugged in appropriately, so on and so forth? Are the cables plugged in back to the network ports, or the network ports plugged into the patch panel? Again, there is how infrastructure is supposed to be built, and then there's how infrastructure is built in the real world. In the real world, you really want an inexpensive flashlight. You don't even have to get something as big as this. You can even get a keychain flashlight, like one of those $5 LED keychain flashlights. Just get some kind of flashlight. It really will matter. So these are the standard tools and what you really think of as tools that you're going to be using as an A+ technician. Again, nothing overly complicated here, all kinds of simple stuff because, again, your desktop support. You're going to be doing relatively simple stuff. Now, beyond this is where we can get into some of the things that are a little more expensive. And so we're going to talk about it, but be careful before you go out there and start just going all wacky and buying expensive things. Now, the next thing that you should have in your kit as an A+ technician is that you should have a laptop. Most likely, I hate to say, a Windows laptop because Yeah, that's the operating system most people use. Here's what I'm going to tell you, though. You don't need the best laptop in the world. You don't need a $1,000 laptop. You don't need a $500 laptop. Honestly, going to someplace like Micro Center and buying a refurbished laptop that's like 4 or 5 years old is probably what you need. To be clear, you're an A-plus technician. You're not going to be playing video games on this laptop. You're not going to be doing machine learning, artificial intelligence on this laptop. What you're going to be doing on this laptop is you're going to be pulling data off of one device and showing it onto another. You're going to be checking to make sure that there is a wireless signal, right? You're going to be just going in, seeing if you can get on the internet, basic stuff like that. So you don't need super fancy, expensive laptop. I would highly, honestly recommend against it. One of the things you're going to have to be thinking about with this laptop is you're going to be taking it with you in your toolkit when you go out to the client site or to the user, wherever the user is at. And the thing is, it's going to get banged around like any other piece of equipment. Right? Like this label maker, I can beat the hell out of, and I don't care because it costs like $15, and I mean it's made like a play school device. Well, one of the things you have to think of, when you have the kit, you're going to be frustrated or tired some days, and you're going to drop your kit with everything in it, right? You're going to bang it around. You're going to do things, right? And so if you got $1,000, $1,500 laptop and you're banging the hell out of that thing, yeah, how long is it going to last, right? Whereas, again, you go out there, you get a $200 or $300 laptop, you bang the hell out of it, you break the motherboard. You're going to break the motherboard at a certain point. It's no big deal. You're not going to go bankrupt over that, especially as a new A+ technician. The other thing that I will warn you about, why I would suggest, especially in the modern world, you do not use your day-to-day laptop as your troubleshooting laptop, is there are viruses out there, there's malware, all that kind of thing. When you're recovering data or when you're pushing and pulling other people's data, what happens if the laptop you're using gets infected with whatever the hell the other computer's infected with, right? Again, if it's your troubleshooting laptop, if it's basically just another tool or utility, then you wipe and reload, you format the hard drive, and away you go. You don't think about it, right? Here's the thing: if that is your normal computer that you use for email and pictures and movies and this and that and the other thing, and it gets a virus on it, you're going to put yourself in the exact same position that user is in. Now I've got to go through all the troubleshooting and all that kind of thing. Not only that, but also from a security standpoint, again, if you're using your normal day-to-day laptop, I mean, you're going to be logging into email accounts, you're going to be logging into all of your different accounts, and what happens if you get a virus on there that's not detected by your antivirus software, and somebody just starts stealing your credentials? Like, why are you going to risk that? It just doesn't make any sense risking, So just having a beat up laptop that you don't care about is definitely the way to go. Again, go get a refurbished one for $200, $300. Honestly, anything that's been made since probably 2010 is going to be fine for you for this A+ level stuff. So just buy something like that. Use it for your work, and you'll be fine. Now, the next thing to think about if you're going to be an A+ level technician, a desktop support technician, is a smartphone with an unlimited data plan, or at least a very large data plan, right? If these things had only existed 10 years ago. Oh, it would have made my life a lot easier. So one of the issues that you're going to run into, if you're in the enterprise environment, if you're in the business environment, this isn't a big deal. You shouldn't worry about this really. But if you're going out there to client site, let's say you're a field technician or you're a consultant, you're going out to client sites, what I have found is the internet has the worst habit of going out when you need it the most, right? So you go and you're sitting down and you're gonna configure a laptop, or you're gonna configure somebody's computer, and you find out, the reason that it's not working properly is it doesn't have the latest updates. Well, if they're connected to the internet, you just download the latest updates and it's fixed. You will be surprised. You'll be shocked. 80% of end users' problems where something doesn't work is because they're not updated to the latest whatever. Here's a problem. their internet service is down, or maybe something with the network is down where you're going to repair and troubleshoot, then you're kind of screwed. There's nothing you can do. If you have a smartphone with an unlimited data plan, then you can tether the device to your smartphone, and away you go. You can download whatever updates you need, and you can still get the work done. Now, what I would say is with this, if I was going to be doing this, I would have the smartphone with the wireless tethering option, again, something like the iPhone or whatever else, and then I would get a USB wireless NIC, wireless network card, for any computers that you would be connecting to your smartphone via tethering. I'm a little concerned nowadays, even if your smartphone can tether through a physical USB connection. Again, from a cybersecurity standpoint, I get really nervous about connecting my phone directly to somebody else's computer. There's some interesting hacking stuff that people have worked with trying to hack smartphones that way. And so I would much prefer the idea, even if you have a desktop computer that only has a wired connection, you plug in the wireless network card, you then connect to your smartphone that way, and then you pull the updates. That allows you to be able to pull those updates wherever you're at with a little more protection for the smartphone. Again, this is one of those things you have to decide. If you're in the enterprise world, don't worry about it. If the internet is not working in your enterprise, you've got bigger issues. This is more for if you're going out to client site. It's just an invaluable tool to have nowadays. Now, the final things you should have in your toolkit as an A-plus technician are what are called known good parts or known good components. What are these known good parts or known good components? Basically, these are parts that you know that they work, right? So when you go to troubleshoot on especially something like a desktop, it can be a little difficult to know exactly what's broken, right? So, so let's say there's no video showing up on the monitor, right? So if there's no video showing up on the monitor, that could be that the monitor is broken. That could be that the video card is broken. That could be that the motherboard socket, and I've seen this for the video card, is broken. Or that can mean that the motherboard is broken, right? That's kind of hard to troubleshoot, especially it's not like one of those things you go in there and see some I/O settings and you know exactly what's going on. So having known good parts makes life a lot easier for troubleshooting because basically you can just slap in the known good parts and see what happens, right? So if the monitor is black, you turn on the monitor and there's a little green light for the power, but it's black, and you have a known good monitor. Like I used to have a known good monitor in my car when I did field stuff. It was a small one, like a small little guy. So I would take the known good monitor and I would plug it into the graphics card. Right? If it's still black, and I know that's known good, I know, okay, it's not the monitor's problem. So then I sit there and I look at it as like, so maybe it's the graphics card problem. So then what I would do is I would take a known good PCI, so a PCI graphics card. So most graphics cards are PCI Express, even back in the day. And the question there is, so I don't know if it's the graphics card or the PCIe slot. So what I could do is I could slot the PCI graphics card into the motherboard, and I could see if that works. So if that then works, then I know it's either the graphics card or I know it's the slot. If it's a PCI Express graphics card, if I have an additional one of those, I could plug that in, see if that troubleshoots. Basically, by having known good parts, you can figure out what's going on that way. Like one of the times when I troubleshooted, again, one of my lessons about dealing with Dell about 10 years ago is we had a whole pile of new Dell desktop computers come in, and I was still new as a consultant. I was still unsure of myself as a consultant. So I plug in this Dell laptop or this Dell desktop and trying to configure it to the network, but the network's not working. Right, I'm sitting there. It's like, oh, is it DNS settings? Is it DHCP settings? Oh my golly! I'm racking my brain trying to figure out why the hell this desktop computer won't connect to the network. And so finally, I get to the point like, So I pull out the known good network card that I have in my toolkit. I slot it into the brand new Dell computer, and hey, what do you know? The network card was dead on arrival that came in that Dell computer. Literally slotting in the network card, it's like, oh, you're on the network right now. Everything is good. So with the known good parts, things that I would say is think about having a known good power supply. So decent sized power supply with all the connectors, have a known good power supply. That allows you to test, is it the power supply that's bad, or again, is it the motherboard that's bad? Have known good video cards. I would have a PCI. Just a PCI video card. Yeah, it's cheap, it's low end, but it'll output video. I'd have a PCI video card. Nowadays, I probably have a PCI Express video card too in the kit. I would have a NIC, a network interface card, PCI network interface card, so I could slot in. I'd have a wireless network interface card, so I could slot in. Maybe USB for those. You have to figure out what your situation is and what kind of equipment you're going to be using. But having known good parts just makes troubleshooting so much easier. Like, I wonder if this part's broken. Slot, yeah, it works. It's known good. It's like, yeah. So I could sit here for 2 hours and go through all the troubleshooting steps, or I can, yep, that's a problem. Known good parts makes life so much easier. So that's what we've got for the standard A+ toolkit. These are the things that you should be thinking about buying. Again, buy good quality tools. Just don't buy a lot of them, right? It's much better to spend $15 or whatever on a good set of screwdrivers versus spending $500 on a hell of a lot, of low-cost other things, right? Buy the good things that you need right now. But I know some of you people are like, but Eli, you had other things in your kit. I want to see those other things. So I will show you some of the other stuff that ended up in my kit over the years. But to be clear, this is not A+ level things. This is like Net Plus and beyond stuff. But it is the type of equipment that you should be thinking about getting as you go along. Because what you find out is when you're doing A+ troubleshooting, a lot of times A+ troubleshooting goes into Net Plus troubleshooting, which then goes into things like telephony troubleshooting. So you should have an idea about this equipment now. But to be clear, don't buy it now. Wait till we get to the Net Plus track, and then I will show you some of these other things. So let's take a look. Let's take a look at some of the other stuff that's in my kit. So this is what's called a telephone butt set right here. So basically what this is Fluke. Is this a Fluke? I think it's a Fluke. I like Fluke. Fluke is good equipment. Yep, Fluke Networks. So what this is basically you connect these to analog phone lines. It allows you to listen and see if there's a dial tone, and essentially, more or less, it's a phone. So you can actually connect this right into the phone lines and then be able to dial a phone number or even be able to receive calls using this thing. And basically, this is what you use to make sure you know what's going on with the telephone lines. Very useful. Again, this was really useful back in the days of like DSL, and especially I did telephone stuff. Not as useful nowadays, but if you spend a couple of bucks, you can have it in your toolkit. Not a bad thing to have. Other than that, you have things like your network tester, your network cable tester. So what happens is you plug this into one end of a network cable. You plug this side into another end of the network cable, and then you can actually test the cable to make sure it tests out and it's doing what it's supposed to do. Again, a lot of times what you find out, oh my God, you talk about like technicians screwing clients. I have seen clients spend lots and lots and lots of money to have buildings or homes run with network cabling, only for the person who ran the network cabling to not understand the wire pattern for how the cables were supposed to be punched down. So although technically the cables went from point A to point B, they were in fact unusable. And so having a network cable testing kit like this makes life a lot easier for you. Again, if you can't connect to the network, make sure that the cable itself is okay and you're not having some kind of other issues. Beyond that, fun things like this. This is a toning set. So what you do with this is you can connect this little thing. Come on. God damn. All right, might be a little while since I've used this. Holy crap. That's stuck in there. That's not a joke. Come on, I'm on live, darn it. Holy shit. What's wrong with this thing? Okay. May have been a while since I've used it. Oh, there we go. May have been a while since I used a toning kit, right? So basically, a toning kit has two components. You have this little. This is the thing that actually plugs in to a network cable. So you can plug this into a port for a network cable. You can plug this into a port for a telephone line. You can plug this, or you can connect to the Alligator clips directly to wires. And what this does is you put the power button on, and it sends what's called a tone down the line. You then use this little handheld device, and this is able to detect the tone. Why this is valuable is you can even detect the wires through walls. So again, if you go into an office building or you go into a home where all these wires have been run, but you're not really sure where the hell they've been run to, you can use these to actually be able to track down the individual wires. This can be very valuable. I've seen this again in business environments where you have network cable that goes back to a single patch panel. And then guess what? Nobody labeled the patch panel. So you go in there and you're looking at a 24 or 48 port patch panel, and you literally have no idea where any of those wires go. You plug this into a port in the patch panel, and then you can go back and you can tone to figure out where those wires in the patch panel actually go into the building. So that's what one of these things is used for. Very, very valuable. Again, useful. It's like 80 or 90 bucks right there. Past that, then you have, again, for cabling, you have your cabling tools. This is what's called a punch-down tool. So for the plugs that you connect to connect the network cabling into, you use this to actually punch the wires into it. This is a nice ideal one. It has the little hammer thing, so you push on it really hard, and then it goes ka-kunk, and it pushes it in and cuts off the end. These have little blades, so if you ever see these and they sell additional blades, this is for a 110 block. So this is a 110 block blade. This has a little cutty bit on one side. This has the non-cutty bit, so that's the 110 block. I don't know if I have the 66 block in here. Yeah, there's another blade that does a 66 block. I haven't dealt with 66 blocks in quite a few years, so I'm not even sure where that tool is. But that's basically what we're talking about with the punch down tool. And then you finally got the crimper, the final tool. Again, one of those things you should think about. This is what you use in order to actually create the patch cables. So you have your network cable, you have the little end connector, and this is what you'd use to squeeze it together and turn it into a patch cable. Very nice. Again, this is another ideal Fluke and are good companies for this networking stuff for whatever reason. So other tools you may think about if you're progressing down the net plus route. So that's the class on A+ tools. Well, that's not an A+ tool. Here we go. That's the class on A+ tools. Basically to give you an idea of the types of tools you will need as an A+ level technician. Again, buy small quantities of good equipment. 21 years in the profession, I will give you that advice. Also remember, a professional, truly a professional is not made by their tools. Tools make a professional better, but a professional is not the tools alone. A professional is a professional. The more knowledge you have in your head, and the more experience you have, that is what is most vital. I always like a quote. I took Kempo for a number of years. Kempo is an American martial arts created by Ed Parker. And one of the quotes that I always liked that he said, I guess whenever he went into a fight, was that I come to you with just my two hands. And basically the idea of being a fighter, all he needed to whoop your ass was his two hands, right? If you have a knife or a gun or something else to bludgeon you with, he'll take it. He'll accept it. But really, at the end of the day, all he needed was his two hands to make your day very bad. And that's kind of how I would say you should think about being a technician, is you should be able to walk into a situation, and all you really need is your two hands and your brain, right? You should be able to walk into a situation, and then you should be able to figure out how to solve the situation and go from there. Too many people, that's what I say, is they sit here and they start reading this book, or they start reading the MCS ebook, and it gets really boring, it gets really tedious, and it gets really dry, and so they go on a shopping spree. The problem is they buy a whole bunch of tools and equipment that they're never going to use. They spend a lot of money, so they run out of money, so they don't have it on the things that they'll actually need to buy, and then they don't really have anything in their heads either, right? Because that's fun. Again, buying stuff is fun. Buying stuff is exciting. You can talk about buying stuff. You can brag about buying stuff. Your friends and family understand buying stuff. They don't understand this crap. You don't understand this crap. But you're never going to understand this crap unless you study. So buy as little as possible. Buy the highest quality stuff you can afford and go from there. It really will make your life better. So that's all I have on this class today. Again, continuing this A+ track, getting a tiny bit more technical. Don't worry. We're getting close to the real technical stuff. But again, all of this. I mean, it's so it's so funny. Like, again, having done this stuff for 21 years, 22 years. Been doing this stuff a long time, right? And that's the funny thing. Like, going and thinking about this track and going and like really thinking about what's important. And it's not until, you're somebody like me and you're sitting there actually trying to write this stuff out where you realize it's what seems like the stupid stuff. It's what seems like the no crap Sherlock stuff is actually what makes or breaks technicians. The technicians that are made or broken, it's based on how they communicate with clients. It's based on, making sure that they have the right tools and the tools are always available. Again, it's making sure that the tools are always available. You can spend $10,000 on tools, but if they're not within reach when you need them, they might as well not exist. It's all of these little things that you find really, really either make a technician successful or not. So I know some of this stuff might seem a little airy-fairy, but I'm telling you, having done this for a long time, these initial A+ lessons I'm teaching you, honestly, may be the most valuable lessons I teach you out of almost any class on the website. Truly. Anyways, as always, I enjoy doing this video and look forward to seeing you at the next one. I hope this video has been useful for you and you can use the information that I provided to go out and make the world a better place. But please remember that I cannot pay my mortgage with passion. It's true. I tried to do it the other week and they were not amused. Here's a whole bunch of passion. Can I pay my mortgage with this? And they said no. So if you want to support what I do, whether it's the videos that I do for Eli the Computer Guy, the videos I do for Fail Normal, or even the in-person meetup we do every other week, please think about joining failnormal.com or elithecomputerguy.com. At the end of the day, all the passion in the world doesn't matter if you can't feed your family. And so by supporting me by joining either of those two sites, you help pay for everything that I try to create and allows me to not have to worry about things like sponsors or whatever insanity is currently going on with YouTube.